What's up, everybody? I'm Matt.
And I'm Beth.
And today we're going to be reviewing the interior in the all-new 2021 Toyota Sienna. So the Sienna has been given a complete redo, and on the outside it's very bold and I think it's pretty cool looking. And on the inside it's also radically different. They really started from scratch and it is impressive. Just when you sit down in here, it's just like shocked me. I'm like, whoa. It's like you have a full like countertop here with this like the way the dashboard's cut out and stuff. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And I mean, I haven't been in a lot of Siennas, so I don't know, but I think it does look really cool.
Yeah, I mean, previously you didn't have this whole like center bridge area, and they did that to try and make it seem more like an SUV. And so that's one of the big changes. You know, usually with minivans you just have like everything on the dashboard and there's just like a big giant gap here, and then you have, you know, console and stuff. So having this all connected does give it a little bit more of an SUV vibe, but still gives you so much space, which we'll get into all the storage spaces here in a minute. But first thing, so this one is an XSE trim. So this is a mid-grade kind of trim. It's not, doesn't have a lot of the luxurious features of the fully loaded versions. So some of the headline features you might have seen, this one does not have, but we'll still touch on some of those. And so this one, as tested, is just under $45,000, so kind of a good mid-level point. But anyway, so in this XSE trim, you get these Softex leatherette seats. So they're actually pretty soft and comfortable, in my opinion. I think they kind of have a cool look too with this, I don't know what kind of pattern that is on the back there.
It's almost like a star pattern at one point, but then at another point it looks like a snakeskin pattern.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I like it. I think it's cool. It's just a little bit fun for everyone, but I don't think that they're super soft. I mean, they are soft, but sitting down, they're very firm, at least for me, and I'm not crazy about it, but as soon as I like sit down, I like expected it to be like a little bit softer, but it is really firm.
Yeah, and they also do mention that the XSE gets sports seats. I'm not sure how much sportier they are.
Maybe that's why.
So maybe if you're in, Platinum or some other, version of the Sienna, they might be a little softer. I'm not sure, but yeah, these might be a little bit firmer, but I don't have any complaints. They are heated seats as well too, but you don't get ventilated seats in this trim. You have to go up to a higher trim in order to get the cooled seats. Though I do love the orange stitching and stuff too.
Yeah, it is cool, but one other complaint that I do have is I am sitting up so high. I hate it. I really hate it. And I know that a lot of people like to sit up high, and that's what a lot of car companies are doing, just making it so that you can automatically sit up high all the time. But I just feel like I am a giant in this car and there's no adjustment to the height whatsoever, and I really, really wish that there was. This is a power seat, so I feel like there's definitely wiggle room to be able to do that. So it's just really annoying to me that I feel like I'm sitting up so high. Once again, it might be because I have a little bit longer of a torso, but I am only at 5'5", so sitting here, it is really just difficult because I always feel like I have like 2.5 inches of space between my head and the ceiling here. It's just like, I don't know. I don't like it a lot.
Well, and there's no good reason why you can't have your seat go up and down, because my seat goes up and down. And so, yeah, it's probably a more expensive seat to have that extra mechanism, but like, spend an extra $100, Toyota, and just give the same features to the passenger seat that the driver has. And then if you want to sit up like you're, in a lifted truck, then you can have that high seating position. And if you want to have it lower, give people that choice. I think that would be nice.
Exactly. And I just think that it's weird because like half the time he's at his normal seating height and I'm just like towering above
I'm like
him.
Down here and I'm like cruising and she's like over there like really high. And
yeah, it's just weird to me, and I don't know why all of these car companies don't give you height adjustments, but I really think that that's a downgrade for this car. I really wish that there was one.
Yeah, and as far as actual headroom goes, it does seem like it's still workable for tall people, because like your dad sat in the seat and he's how tall?
My dad's 6'2", and apparently he was okay, but maybe he wasn't sitting straight up, maybe he was like sitting down, I don't know, but like
it was a little bit tighter. But so just so that if you're over 6 feet tall, don't be like terrified you're not going to fit in the Sienna. Especially, if you're in the driver's seat, you can lower it, but the passenger seat, yeah, it's just you know, it's going to feel a little tighter, but you should still fit.
But I will say, go to the dealer, sit in it, see if you like it, and if you like it, then that's great. But for me, I just don't.
Yeah, and another thing with the seating position too that we noticed is in our normal sitting positions, everything on the dashboard is a little bit too far away. I mean, it's not that big of a deal to lean over a tiny bit. It's not like, you know, you're trying to touch the front of the car or anything. It's just a little bit more of a reach, a little less ergonomically friendly than some of the others that have those controls just a little bit closer.
Yeah, and also one thing, if I wanted to reach that far, it would be very difficult for me because even if I pushed my seat all the way forward, I could reach those things. But I am also sitting up really high, so reaching something a little bit lower is a little bit more difficult. I am also pregnant, and if I were to be having an extremely large stomach or anything like that, it would be also hard to reach over, and yeah.
Yeah, so just one thing to keep in mind there, but it's not too bad. We just nitpick these vehicles. You know, you can just lean forward a little bit. It's not the biggest deal, especially if you're pregnant. That's a temporary thing.
Yeah, it's workable, but I know that there's going to be a lot of people that are pregnant that have these cars. So.
Yeah. So that's a good point there. But anyway, moving on from the seating position to the steering wheel here. Steering wheel's fantastic in the XSE especially. You have this really cool perforated leather on the sides of it here. It has a really great 9-3 grip and nice little 10-2 notches, but just a really nice feeling wheel. A few buttons here on it, but they all actually feel pretty nice to press and stuff. It kind of just feels a little bit higher quality and very durable. And so I also love the orange stitching on it. Nicely jazzes it up a little bit. And so great steering wheel. Also, the gauges here in the Sienna are very simple here in the XSE. If you go for the higher trims, you will be able to get a larger screen there in the middle. This one has the smaller screen that you might have been familiar with in various other Toyotas in the past 5 years. Nothing new there, unfortunately. And the analog gauges and stuff, it's not going to feel quite as high-tech as what you get with the Odyssey and the Pacifica, which both have a little bit of a higher tech feeling to them. But, you know, it is just the basics, and that's all you really need. And you can also get a head-up display in the Sienna if you'd like. That is not something that's offered on the XSE here, though, so you have to go up to a higher trim, but that is something that is available. Coming over to the center of the dashboard, one thing that is standard is this 9-inch Toyota touchscreen infotainment system. And this is kind of different than the other 9-inch systems that you get in other Toyotas. It's a little bit more of a wide screen setup. So it is different than like the 9-inch screen in a top RAV4 or something. It has the wider bezels and the larger buttons here. And I really like it. One thing that's really nicely improved over the other Toyota systems is that the volume and the tune knobs have a really nice resistance to them. It feels much more expensive than what you get with the normal, more plastic and rubbery feeling knobs on, you know, RAV4s and things like that. So this is a nice little improvement that I wasn't expecting, honestly. Unfortunately, the graphics on the screen, though, it still looks kind of low resolution, especially the maps look like they're 10 years old still. I don't know why Toyota doesn't bother doing prettier maps. I mean, it's not a big deal, and I know most people use smartphone integration, which does have better looking maps with whatever map application you want to use, but you know, it just would be nice if you're paying for navigation, then it would be assumed that you probably want navigation maps that look a little bit nicer than this. So that's the only thing. Otherwise, though, it's nice and simple. It's not too cluttered, and so I do like all those things about it. You know, volume and tuning and all that kind of stuff with the radio stations going through all those are very easy to use.
But it is also just slightly tilted towards the driver, and I feel like this is a van, so it's a family car. Everybody's gonna want to be using this. It's not that bad. I can definitely reach every part of the screen, but I just wish it was more straightforward.
Yeah, having a driver-centric thing, it's appreciated, but yeah, the whole, I think it's kind of gimmicky in a van. Like, you might as well just have it flat.
Yeah.
That's it. But it kind of adds a little bit of visual appeal to have this kind of sticking out a little bit further. And I just respect them for being a little bit bold with this interior and taking some chances. But, I mean, the tech and stuff, though, it is something that is a little bit lower tech than the competitors, especially the Chrysler Pacifica with its brand new 10-inch screen, super high resolution, super quick, beautiful looking menus and stuff. That is definitely going to be the more plush feeling van.
And I mean, I feel like there is so much space on this screen itself. that they could just expand it just a little bit, because you have this little column here that's an inch wide that says all of your brand names here. That could be totally omitted or put somewhere else, and then the screen could have been a little bit wider.
And Toyota even has a wider screen with the Highlander that we reviewed, and that was a really cool 12-inch display, and it had like a split screen setup so you could have more stuff going on the screen, and that was really well designed. And unfortunately that is exclusive to the Highlander for now. It's kind of surprising that this new Sienna, which came out a year after the Highlander, doesn't get that newest tech, but Toyota decided they want to just do this screen across the board. Whether you get a base Sienna or a fully loaded Sienna, you still get this same screen. So I think that was a kind of a missed opportunity there, but that's something they could always add for a mid-cycle refresh or something. It does also have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto and all that type of stuff, so good to have all that. But anyway, moving beyond that down to the climate controls here, I like this little row of toggles. It's just plastic, it doesn't feel super expensive or anything, but all works well and no complaints there. And then moving on to the storage space here in the Sienna, I mean, it is remarkable. Even among minivans, this is really top notch, I think. So I guess we'll start in the doors. First, in the doors, you have a 2-layer pocket setup here. So you have one that's in the middle of the door here, which has a deeper portion to it. And then there's a huge bottle holder, actually double bottle holder here in the lower part of the doors, and a really nice large pocket there.
You can even put something like your phone or something small into these handles here, which I think is really nice. There's some car companies that do it and some that don't. I always appreciate the ones that do.
Yeah, so that's great. And then coming over to the center here, like I said, you have this massive tray that spans a lot of the vehicle. It even comes over to the driver's side here by the turn signal stock and stuff. You even have a little extra space there, and it's just huge. I mean, and so here in the XSE, it also gives you a wireless charging pad here. This one has an optional package that gives you that, and you also see a USB jack up there. But I mean, lots of space. You could fit, I don't know, 4 smartphones on that thing if you want.
Yeah, the one thing I don't love though about the wireless charging pad is that it is really far. So that's one of the things I wouldn't really be able to reach very easily, especially being pregnant. So that's one downgrade, but at the same rate, it is nice because it does have those little bezels there, so it will hold onto your phone if you're going around corners or stuff like that. There's so many cars that your phone will just slide around, and this, I feel like it should stay in place.
Yeah, so it's great they did that. It's nice and rubberized here, so it will help as well as having those bezels there. But yeah, even as a driver, it is a really far reach to get to this wireless charging pad. So, obviously they wanted to put it out of the way. That's fine. I think it works because there's really no other place to put it and still retain all the other great stuff you have here. And so moving on to the other areas, you have 2 cup holders here with another little slot. You could like stand up a small phone or something there if you'd like. And then you have this extra little slot. You could put a phone sideways. I think they really did a good job of giving you lots of options for phone storage. And then you can flip this back and you have 2 more cup holders in there. So you have 4 cup holders up front here just for the front seat passengers. And then beneath this whole center bridge area, you have this massive cutaway. And I mean, that is huge. I mean, you could fit like a 3-ring binder across that thing like easily, like a big one. I mean, purses, bags, anything like that could fit in there easily. There's also a power outlet built into there. And I also like that it's a large cutout for this area, because there's other car companies that do similar types of things, but they're a lot more of a narrower opening, and so it's harder to reach. Even the Chrysler Pacifica has a similar setup, but it's a more small opening, and so it's a little bit harder to fish things out of there than it is in this. It's way wide open, super easy to get into anything in there. So I think Toyota did this probably the best out of anything I've seen so far. Really well done there. And then you have this center armrest area, which is interesting how you actually have the elbow rests here split for the driver and the passenger here, and they're pretty soft and comfortable.
Yeah, I love this. Maybe that's why they didn't let you adjust the height on this side, but it is the perfect place for my elbow.
Yeah, so that's cool, because then that doesn't get in the way of this center bin. You press this button, it opens up, and then you can leave that open even and still have use of the armrest, which is great. And then you have this very, very deep cubby here that's even illuminated. It has another USB jack and a USB-C jack in there. So this is just for charging, by the way. So if you're going to want to actually, run your smartphone integration, you are going to have to plug into this one up front here. And as you can see, I have my COVID essentials in there and some sunglasses, and it all fits with plenty of room to spare. And so just so much storage space up front here. And I also really love this ridged plastic. It's not maybe as high-end as like wood or something, which I think you can get in the higher trims, but I just think it's more interesting than piano black plastic or some random normal plain plastic. I think it looks really cool.
And I feel like it's nice because if you were to have the piano black plastic, that would scratch so much. And once again, this is a family car. A van is a family car, to me at least. And I just think that if you were to accidentally get a scratch on here, it would be a little bit harder to see than your normal piano black plastic.
Yeah, it does hide it much better. And two other quick little compliments I have to say before we move on to the back seat. First is you have a padded knee area. Even though this is a very narrow space, and even if you splay out, you might not ever even come in contact with this, but it does have some padding. Now, it's not pillowy soft, but it is a little bit of padding here, and so that's appreciated. And then I also love how you have, at least in this XSE, the way it's configured, you have this white door panel and dashboard area, and it really lightens up this cabin, so it doesn't feel like you're in this all black dark cave. It really is just a unique thing you don't get in others out there.
Yeah, it's cool, and it even goes to the seats as well. So you have that whole top half of your car being a little bit lighter, a little bit more airy. It's nice.
Yeah, it really, you'd be amazed at just how big of a difference that makes to really brighten things up in here. And so a very cool design touch there. But anyway, moving on to the second row seats here in the Sienna. Of course, that's what a minivan's all about. The first thing I love about just getting into that area is that it has a kick to open side doors here, which is something, you've seen recently on, cargo areas. But to have it here in the second row is really great, and it actually works consistently, which is something that's not always a guarantee with those rear hatches in other vehicles. So it seems to work all the time. So if you have your hands full, you can open up that door without touching anything. And then anyway, once you get into that second row, I mean, it is so spacious. This is where minivans far surpass any three-row SUVs, at least the stuff that's not body on frame. I mean, this is just a massive amount of space. Anyway, they're nice, soft, comfortable seats and just tons of legroom. I mean, I'm 5'9". Me sitting behind myself in like a middle position for that seat, I mean, I have over a foot of legroom to spare. It is so spacious. And those second row seats, you can slide them all the way up so that your knees are right in the seat back if you want. And that would give the third row passengers tons of space. Not that they're lacking in space at all, by the way. Even in that middle position, that third row still has a couple inches of legroom to spare. But then the one big trademark feature here of the Sienna is that it reclines that second row seat, and you can slide it back way further than any of the competition. And the Sienna was already best in class in that regard, but this takes it up one step further. And even in the top levels of the Sienna, you can get ottomans that come out, and you can actually have it like a lazy boy back there because it goes back so far. And these seats, even though they don't have the ottoman feature, they do still slide just as far back. And sliding it all the way back, it'll be basically right up against that third row, so the third row is useless. But in that position, I can actually extend my legs out all the way. Like I can, and not be touching the seat back, by the way. So like I could actually like lay down like it's a bed and have plenty of space. So it's like, the most luxurious first class seat on a plane or something sitting in that second row. It's very impressive. Other nice touches in those seats, you'll see those little nets there built in for like a little cup holder, bottle holder area. You also will have bottle holders in those sliding doors, so that's nice. And you also have two more cup holders when you look forward here, although depending on where you're sitting in that second row, it could be a little bit of a reach. But nice to have those back there. You also will see right up top here another USB jack and another USB-C jack. And there's also a normal house current plug there as well. So it's great to have all those features. Now again, since this one isn't fully loaded, we are missing out on many of the upgraded features. In an XSE, you can get the entertainment package. So that'll give you a high resolution full HD screen for playing movies and things like that. But unlike the Pacifica, which has individual screens in the seat back, so you have two of them, this just gives you one screen that comes down from the roof here. And so that's why there is no panoramic roof option here in the Sienna. You only have this small little roof, whereas in the Pacifica you can have that huge panoramic roof because you have the seat mounted screens in that. So just a distinction there. There are a couple other features you can get in addition to those ottomans like I mentioned. You can get a vacuum, which this one doesn't have. You can also get an easy speak feature, which is similar to the cabin talk that Honda came out with, where you can use the Bluetooth speaker to project your voice to the back seat there if you need to, if it's really noisy and stuff. So that's nice. And the Sienna also offers a small refrigerator that comes out of the back of this bin here, and this one obviously does not have that either, but the Sienna is the only one that actually offers a refrigerator in it. So that is a very cool thing too. If you really want to have the most luxurious van out there, you can have your 25 inches of travel for that second row and have all the luxury features you want. So very, very impressive. They offer all those types of things. And but anyway, the other thing to note about those second row seats is that they're very easy to slide, but it is all manual controls, and it is a very wide area. Even with those armrests down, it's a very wide area to walk right through the middle there. You can waltz through there, no problem. But if you do want to get that second row seat out of the way to really give you tons of access to that third row, you still have a heavy lever you still need to pull up to slide it forward, and that's the only way you can kind of get more space there, because you cannot remove these second row seats in the Sienna like you used to be able to. And so that is, you know, one little compromise there. And you don't have the stow and go type stuff you can get in the Pacifica, where they can just make those second row seats vanish. In this, you know, they're fixed and they just slide forward, and that's about as best as you can do with that. Anyway, beyond that, the third row does fold into the floor, and if you do want to use it though, it's a very nice and comfortable third row. It has plenty of space, both headroom and legroom, and there's also 2 cup holders on each side. But like the Pacifica, I don't know why minivans do this, but only on the passenger side you get USB jacks. There's a USB jack and a USB-C jack, but the driver's side third seat passenger is going to have to do without any kind of hookups for some reason. Not sure why they do that, but that's the way it is. So the best seat in the house if you're in the third row is going to be the passenger side. But anyway, they also have their own air vents back there. You also have climate controls here in the roof that the second row occupants have access to. And so, I mean, just so much space though. I mean, it is easily, even in its worst configuration, it's way more space than you're going to be getting in any 3-row unibody SUV. And so, yes, this is easier to live with than a Highlander or something like that if you're going to be using that third row a lot. Yeah, I know a lot of people love their SUVs these days, but for outright practicality, the minivan is still going to be king. And you know, having the vacuum cleaner built in, having all those other little features, I think really puts it over the top too. Moving on to the trunk space, that is another area where a minivan is still supreme over an SUV, because you have a really deep cargo space there you can see. And that's something, you know, like with some of the 3-row crossovers, you do have a little bin underneath of the floor there, but it's always a flat floor, whereas this, it's this huge deep well. And so, I mean, tons of space there. You also have a huge pocket on the left-hand side there. It's just a ton of space. You can, like I said, fold that third row into the floor there, and then you have a pretty flat load floor if you want to just do that as well. There's also another house current plug in that trunk area as well. So for tailgating, things like that, you can keep all your electronics powered up there with that. And so just a ton of space back there. It's also, of course, a power open and close tailgate, and it does have the kick feature as well. And it's a little bit slow, but works totally fine. That's about it as far as the interior and the Sienna. Lots to cover here, but it's really impressive.
Yeah, it's definitely really nice, and it's a good place to be, especially if it's a family car. I like it a lot.
Yeah. But anyway, that's about all our thoughts here on the interior of the Sienna. Be sure to check out the driving review. I will link it above if you want to hear all my thoughts on how it drives. But yeah, that's all our thoughts. Let us know yours in the comments below. Thank you guys very much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.
Take care.